Hi everybody, and welcome to another video where I test out the Berlin Studio plugin by Samplicity. In this one, I wanted to see if I could record something at home and using the Berlin Studio plugin, then see if I can get that recording to blend nicely with my Orchestral Tools template. So the Berlin Studio plugin is a really cool convolution reverb that uses impulse responses from the Teldec stage in Berlin, which is where all of these Orchestral Tools orchestral sample libraries were recorded that I'm using today. So in theory, I should be able to make this work. Instead of playing some instrument at home myself, I reached out to a buddy of mine, Greg Johnson. He's an incredible jazz saxophonist out in California, but he gigs all around the world, and I'm just lucky to know him. I asked him to record an excerpt from a jazz tenor saxophone concerto I wrote about a decade ago, and so I sent him this PDF. And it's pretty short and it's pretty slow, and I didn't have him play a metronome or anything like that. So he recorded on an Apogee USB mic and then sent me this recording. So I'm just going to play. This is the raw, unedited version right here. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so my goal is to try and get that to sound like it was recorded in Teldex using Berlin Studio and maybe some other plugins as well. We'll see. I don't claim to be a mixing expert. If you followed my channel, you know that's not really my thing, although I've certainly gotten a lot better at it over the years. So let's just first add Berlin Studio before I do any EQing or anything like that. This is what you get. And you have a decision to make about where on the recording stage you're going to place this saxophonist. In a real concert, you might have the saxophonist positioned in front of the violins, sort of next to the conductor. But for the sake of this, I think I'm going to place them back here a little bit more center stage, but a little further back. So then here are your microphones. This is the source, so the raw audio. And then here are 3 microphone positions. And here's what it sounds like. So you have a couple of options here, and one of them is the tail length. Lately, I've been lowering this, roughly 20%. And you can also add delay, so the delay in milliseconds from the source. And I've been playing around with maybe about 10 milliseconds too. For a while, on previous videos, you saw I just used the Deca tree. I've been experimenting with blending just a little bit of these other mic positions in as well. And I think it sounds pretty good. I'm going to play a little bit from the beginning again. And yeah, here's what that sounds like. Yeah, so you could hear as I moved the source signal up, you get that closeness from the saxophonist. Greg recorded this obviously very close to the mic. And so one of the things that I did in addition, I'm going to move this down, is I added some EQ. And the big thing for me was I tried to negate some of that proximity effect, which I was noticing kind of in this 200 to 300 hertz range. And I'm going to mute that for a second. And also there were some resonances that I noticed probably from his recording space. So I went through and just adjusted this ever so slightly. And after I did that, I noticed if you look at the wave shape here, there's quite a dynamic range. So that sounds great when you're playing it alone. But what I learned was when you're mixing it in with other instruments, I kind of want more of an even amplitude across the board. So I added some compression. And at the end of the day, I'm going to delete this track and show you this is the one that I came up with. So my EQ, and I added this Gullfoss plugin. I'm not doing too much, but it helps tame some of the resonances. And then I'm actually using this waves compression, and I'm doing quite a lot here, a lot of compression. And it does help kind of level and even out the amplitude, which is, I think, necessary for this. And then the Berlin Studio. And let's see, I'm using the source, obviously, and then a bit of Deca-Tree. And then I muted the AB. I didn't think that was necessary, but I am using quite a bit of the surround as well. So let's hear that. Oh, in addition, I'm actually sending the saxophone signal to an additional reverb, which is this Orchestration Hall preset from Cinematic Rooms Professional. And so that's just my tail reverb. And I'm sending every single instrument here to that reverb unit. And I think it does help blend the entire thing together. So here's what that sounds like. So this was definitely a challenge for me to try to make this work with the sample instruments. It's not something I've really done a lot, and I was constantly doubting myself. But let me just play it through, unmute everything. And like I said, this was a piece I wrote about a decade ago, and it was originally for chamber orchestra, so I had to reorchestrate things, kind of update my orchestration, add some instruments. And yeah, so here it is. I'll start from the beginning. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that short excerpt from my piece Reflex. I'll put the score and Cubase file up on my Patreon page for those interested. And thanks again to my friend Greg for recording that for me. I'm hoping to collaborate more with him in the near future. So after making 3 short videos on this plugin, I have to say I really like it a lot. I think it's going to be very useful going forward, especially in regards to blending different sample libraries together. So like if you have some from Spitfire or some from any library that was maybe only recorded up close, that can be a game changer, I think. For those of you like me who often struggle with blending different libraries, I think this plugin can really help a lot. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.